Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Maren, and I don't know, it's been like, what, 3-4 months since I lost the cloak? That's definitely time for a new cloak. Just to make one thing clear, I have no idea what is it with Mrs. Bamford and the cloaks. Okay, for those of you who haven't been here before, welcome. Hope you enjoy yourself. My name is Maren. I'm currently in the project of recreating the wardrobe of an 18th century Englishwoman named Mrs. Anne Bamford. We don't know a lot about her. She died circa 1780, so I've chosen as my sort of time period from 1750 to 1780, those 30 years. And she had a massive inventory made of all of her wearing apparel when she died, and it includes a bewildering amount of cloaks. And you know, I could understand that. Living in England, it's wet, rainy, cold, foggy. I used to live in England. I know what the weather can be like, especially if you live up north. I can totally understand the need for cloaks. But her cloaks aren't like useful in any way. It's not like they're made of wool and made to be water repellent or watertight or waterproof in any way. They are silk and satin. They are luxury garments. So far we made a green satin cloak, which I lined with cotton satin lined with cotton. It's nice, not super warm, but like for, I don't know, like throwing over yourself on a spring day, it's lovely. And then we made a white silk cloak. She has lots of white silk cloaks. At least 4 white silk cloaks are mentioned in her inventory. She also mentions a black cloak and a gauze cloak and a blue, a gold-laced blue satin cloak, because that's useful in the November rains. But like, it's cool, it's fun, I like cloaks. Who doesn't like cloaks? It makes you feel a bit all superhero like. So I'm gonna make a gold-laced blue satin cloak. I have the lace. This is the rest of the lace that I ordered for the blue jacket that I showed you about a month ago. Dropped some of it. As you can see, I have quite a lot of it. I think this will be enough, like trimming a cloak. It's a little bit chunky. It's a bit more chunky than I thought it was when I ordered it. But I mean, the gold against the blue looks really nice, so we'll be good, we'll be good. I've also ordered some blue silk satin, and I mean, am I recreating the wrong period? Because this makes me want to recreate the 1930s. I want to make like a bias cut dress and then strut around and be all glamorous. What do you think? Maybe I'll have to do that next time. It's beautiful. I mean, the sheen, even the camera likes this fabric, and the camera usually does not like fabric. I don't know if you remember the black velvet hood that I made last winter, but it ate light like it was snacks, and it was horrible to shoot. This is It's beautiful on camera and it's beautiful live and I love it. But as you can see, like, this is a fair amount of fabric, I think, for a cloak. But if I bunch it up, it's nothing. Like, I can fit it in one hand. This is not a very thick and insulating fabric. And I have been looking at some illustrations from the period, some sort of fashion plates and the like. This one, for example, beautiful blue cloak, almost makes me sad that it's not, you know, that it's that the inventory mentions gold lace instead of like fur trimmings, because, oh, again, the glamour. I want to live a glamorous life. I do not live a glamorous life. Anyway, can you see how thick that is? That's like, it's, I mean, it looks very silky, but it also looks very thick and luxurious. Now, I don't have that sort of thick, fluffy wool fabric that I guess that cloak is interlined with. However, I have this, which I bought when I was still kind of considering whether I should do the Bamford project or not, and I was strolling the web and looking for inspiration and tips from people who've done this before, and I came across a I think it's American Duchess blog article. I'll see if I can find it and link it below, that showed that they'd made like a used quilting. This is pre-quilted, and like made a quilted petticoat for extra floof. And I thought, that's very smart. I'll buy some quilted fabric and make one for myself. However, I haven't really had the need for it. Like, I feel like with my panniers or my kind of false rumps and all the petticoats and the volume of the fabric, I feel like I get the oomph that I need, especially in the hip region. So I haven't really used this, and I'm thinking now this could be very nice as a sort of insulating, fluffy, interlining layer. And also, I mean, now it's just taking up space in my fabric stash, and we can all do with a little bit of de-stashing. And then for the lining, I've had this laying around also in my stash for ages. It's cotton satin, or maybe it's satin. I'm not going to be, you know, super, I'm not sure, let's put it that way. But it's a really nice fabric. I actually bought it, many years ago, because I made a sackback gown for a ball. Before I really knew how to make sackback gowns. And it's not horrible, I'm just not like mega happy with it anymore. Anyway, I made the petticoat with like one colour in the front and another in the back. And then I made the stomacher turnable so that I could wear it with like, it was pink and then with a pink stomacher and pink skirt, or I could wear it with a stripy stomacher and a stripy skirt, and that's this fabric. And then I had this idea that I would make like a day dress out of this fabric. But sometimes it's a good idea to actually use your fabric before you know any better. So I bought this, I thought this would be great for a day dress. Now I'm looking at it going, it's not horrible, but it's not my first choice, and it's a fairly thin material because it's actually bed sheets, because I bought this when I was a student and didn't have a lot of money. So I'm thinking I may probably never turn this into a day dress, but I could definitely use it for my lining, for my cloak. So that's the plan, a blue cloak with gold lace, a sort of goldy brown and white striped lining, interlightened with some fluffy quilted material. Yeah, that's the plan. You want to come along?
I used the pattern that I made for the white cloak as a sort of basis, but I wanted this one to be a little bigger, so I just saw how much more fabric I had and added as much as possible to the hem of the cloak. The white cloak had a sort of dip or tip in the front. I'm not going to add that for this one. It's going to be just plain round all around. I also had to make sure that I actually could fit both the fronts and the backs of the cloak. And once I'd measured that, I cut everything out. So here it is, my silk satin pieces for cloak, back, fronts and hood, lining the same, and then my fluffy quilted interlining. Please excuse the cheesy segue. The first thing I did was to interline the silk with the quilted fabric, and I basically just placed the quilted fabric on top of the satin, folded the seam allowances in over the quilted pieces and basted it down. So this is the back piece, as you can see, and I did the same to the two front pieces. I decided I didn't want the quilted interlining for the hood, so this I did not do this for the hood. After I done that, I took all my lining pieces, my striped lining pieces, folded the seam allowances in, placed them sort of wrong sides together to the interlined silk, and basted that as well. Having done that, I then stitched the lining to the interlined silk using a sort of whipped brick stitch. It looks like a small whip stitch from the inside, and then it looks like a tiny little brick stitch from the outside. And it's basically my favorite stitch. You'll see it on pretty much everything I make. And I did this for all the pieces separately before stitching them together. I have no idea if this is how it was done in the period. It was very difficult to find any information on the construction techniques of cloaks, but I know that women who make clothes usually work sort of piecework, and maybe one woman would make the back piece, one woman would make the side piece, and then I used a whip stitch, as you can tell from this one, this shot, to stitch the front pieces to the back piece. I stitched the lining to the hood as well in the same way, and then I made lots of little gathering stitches along the sort of top back center of the hood to get that extra volume and floof at the back of the hood. The hood now being finished, I'm sorry I skipped a couple of steps here, because this is, you've seen me do this a million times by now, and if you're new to the channel, there's a lot of videos that you can check out. I basically gathered up the top of the hood and then stitched the back together using lots of tightly spaced and very strong whip stitches, and this is how the hood looks on. And you might, if you compare it to the hood on the white cloak or the green cloak, you might be able to tell that the hood is a bit bigger, and that's on purpose, because I I found those hoods to be, they're okay, but they're a little bit on the small side. I wanted this hood to be big enough for me to actually fit like a real hairdo under. So having done that, finished the hood, I stitched it to the cloak at the neckline. I started by stitching it to stitching the silk side to the silk of the neckline, and when that was done, I folded the lining of the hood over the raw edges of the cloak neckline, pinned that down, and then stitched the lining to the lining of the cloak using tiny little whip stitches, and also, you know, making sure to only stitch through the inner layers and not through to the outside, because then I would end up with a lot of tiny white dots on my neck, which wouldn't be too nice, I think. Not too pretty. On to the trimming! I attached a row of the gold lace around the entire cloak, so up the fronts and around. Around the cloak and up the fronts, I attached the lace so that it's kind of pointing outwards. On the hood, I attached it the way you see here, with the lace scallops sort of pointing towards the fabric instead of the edge. I also attached some ribbons at the neck, just to, you know, keep the cloak on. And with that done, my cloak was finished and ready to take for a little stroll about the garden. Dreaming about some nicer, warmer weather. That would be nice.